online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, sleepyheads! Welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV Sleepy Hollow After Show. It's been an extremely long hiatus.
Horse hooves. That's
Guys,
what these are.
just the dance, is that?
These are horse hooves. It's just like Monty Python when they're doing the coconut thing.
That's terrible horse hooves. Anyway, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining us.
They're
I'm your host, Zach Wilson. This is the episode. This is for episode 9 of season 3, One Life, and we're talking Sleepy Hollow here.
One Life.
You can tweet at me throughout the week, throughout the show at that Zach Wilson. Now let me introduce you to my fantastic panel, who's back again, Jacuqe Borowski.
Hey guys, I'm back. 1, 2, 3, Jackie B.
Woo. And I'm Stephen
Lemieux.
Lemieux.
Tweet
All
us
right.
at Stephen Lemieux. You know?
Yeah, and make sure to subscribe on iTunes. Go onto YouTube, hit the subscribe button on the channel, hit the thumbs up button, all that stuff. Lots of ways that you can support us. Make sure you do them all. Let's get into this episode, guys. So we're back from that big cliffhanger of Abby Mills wandering into the hell tree.
Oh my gosh, I have to read my note because I wasn't on the last 2 episodes, so I didn't really get to give my opinion, and I was too lazy of a mofo to write it online, which I said I would do and I didn't. I'm sorry. But my entire thought process while watching those 2 episodes, this is the only thing I thought of at the end. Abby didn't even need to go into that tree. Seriously? She could have just thrown it in and everything would have been fine.
Guys. Military dictates and trains people that if you have a live grenade and there's a tree, you go in with it. Okay?
No!
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not in there.
That is not a
That
thing.
is
But anyway.
Military Handbook 101.
That is not a thing.
The tree will protect you as long as you have a grenade with you.
That is not a thing. She
Well,
didn't even need to do that.
Yes,
that was useless.
It was frustrating that she went in there, but she did. And now, basically, this episode was everybody misses Abby.
Yes.
And that was basically the in one sentence. That was this episode.
You know, I thought I would be annoyed because Abby's my favorite character, obviously, and I thought I would be annoyed having an episode without her in it. I mean, yeah, she was in it for like 0.25 seconds. But I actually wasn't annoyed at all. I thought they handled it very well without having their main character, one of their main characters, on the show. So I think they handled it very well.
Yeah.
Overall, what'd you think of this episode, Zach?
You know, there's some stuff that I liked and some stuff that I didn't. Abby being gone frustrates me,
right?
Because this is Abby's show,
right. That was the feeling that I had.
And without her, it feels like the last few seasons of The Office.
Hey, Zach, when they took Mulder off the X-Files and replaced him with Agent Doggett, all right, those are still strong seasons.
Well, look, I mean, they could do some good stuff. I'm not sure. Like, here's the. I really liked Jenny and Joe's storyline.
Yes.
In this, but I had some issues with Agent Foster's.
I actually really like Agent Foster. I mean, she's no Abby, but I think she brings a different dynamic to the group because we have. Now that we're in the 3rd season, our core group of people all are heavily into this mythological base. They all understand They all understand that there are demons, that they're real. They all understand the mythology. So we don't have anybody that is kind of representative of the outside world anymore.
But here's my question though, do we need that?
I think it's kind of, I mean, you watch Grimm, and I guess in Grimm, you kind of have this weird thing where you have the main guy in the police force is already, he's basically in on everything. So if they didn't have that, though, like, how else would you have the main character explain that he has to go and fight these demons or he has to go and do this thing? And that you kind of had that in the first season when they didn't really understand that the main guy was one of the creatures, I guess. So it's interesting because you do have to deal with these people who don't understand that the demons are a thing, and I like that they're addressing that because you're going to run into problems, and it was very realistic.
But that's the thing is, like, we've gone through those motions of dealing with people who didn't know about it, and now that the audience is familiar with it, we're familiar with it, and the characters are familiar with it, I kind of want just the whole show to be familiar with it. I prefer, once a show like this gets deeper into the story, I'd rather that the world just embrace that this is a thing, because it becomes a point where, like, how many different little shops have they gone into now?
That's
with
true.
Where they just, like, happen to specialize in magical artifacts.
You want what happens at the Buffy prom when they start talking and the kids in the audience are like, we dealt with demons and monsters, and everyone's like, apparently everyone just knew that this was a thing.
Well, because here's my thing with Sophie, and I guess we'll just get into her. It's Sophie Foster, right? Am I wrong on that?
I don't know. I was calling her Agent Freckles for the longest time, and then I just realized her name was Agent Foster. So
yeah, it's
we're
Sophie.
not first name yet.
Thank you, chat roll. But so my issue with Sophie is she was working for a guy who specialized in these magical artifacts she was undercover with him for like 6 months.
That's true.
She didn't see any magical stuff go on around him, or like buy into the fact that these people like are 100% serious about these magical things.
It does sound like, now that we know that her parents were probably like kidnapped by demons, it does sound like she's in this like I want to believe position, and so she probably actually like was doing the job that she was doing so that she could that she could confirm to herself that this was real.
It's just a simple perception filter.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I like her character. I think it's a good dynamic because I think we're getting too much of a repeat of every season coming back to, okay, these are the two witnesses. They have to go through trials and tribulations, but we make all these tribulations so grandiose that to kind of keep that same storyline would get old. Like, oh, the world's going to end. Oh, they stopped the world ending. Oh, the world's going to end. Oh, they stopped the world ending. Oh, Moloch's a real baddie. Okay, they killed Moloch. So what do we do now? Like, splitting them up is actually, I think, the smartest thing the show's done since season 2 began. Because we've kind of gotten used to them together so much that creating a new dynamic and bringing in new characters that will cause disturbances when Abby comes back. Because, like, you look at now, you have Jenny and you have Joe getting really close together, and then you have Abby getting close with this girl that... you have Ichabod getting really close to this girl, Foster, that Abby's not a fan of. So when Abby comes back eventually, how is this going to fracture the team and what's going to happen? So
I don't know that he's actually getting close to Foster other than, like, agreeing to work with her. But at the same time, I do like, as much as I was annoyed by the uselessness of the storyline, whereas Abby didn't actually have to go into the tree, she could have just thrown that medallion thing in there. I do like that they split them up because it creates that kind of conflict that we care about. Mm-hmm. Because as audience members, here's something we actually care about. You know, there were so many plot lines where I was like, just don't care. And now I'm like really invested. I'm like, no, now they have to get Abby back.
Now I ship Ichabod.
Ichabod?
Yeah, Ichabod and Sophie.
No.
Sokabod.
I ship Sophie and Reynolds. They have like a chemistry going on.
No, that's Abby and Reynolds, man.
No, I think Sophie and Reynolds have a better chemistry.
Personally, I'm not other than Jenny and Joe, I'm not shipping any combination of people on this show right now. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to news and gossip.
Zach just ships whoever the show tells him.
I'm shipping the Super Bowl with beer.
No, I just don't feel like there is a solid connection or a reason to have like a big love interest between any major characters besides Jenny and Joe.
Yeah.
I mean,
but here's the thing. Here's my thing with Abby being gone. Mm-hmm. Is that we know she's not dead.
Right.
She's the main character of the show. She's not dying, and to spend even a whole episode trying to play us with that idea, it feels like you're just wasting our time.
Well, in an article though that one of our fans tweeted to me, there was an interview with the showrunner, and they were thinking of delaying the reveal that Abby was in that other realm.
Oh, thank God they didn't.
Until the next episode. And he was like, I realized we just needed to put it in there because we need to tell the fans that she's okay, because she's the fan favorite. She is the stand-in for us. So if people didn't know that she was okay, they would be like, okay,
but see, this is my problem with her even going into the tree, is that, again, like, we know she's going to be fine, so just embrace the fact that we know she's going to be okay and use that. Like, splitting them up is great because that's a interesting dynamic. But let's
the kind of
let's just
tension
follow
you need for
her.
a storyline, yeah.
Let's just follow her in the same episode to see them both struggling with it instead of splitting that up. I think that would be a way more interesting way to tell this story.
I was actually, part of me was annoyed because I was actually thrilled with the idea of like a ghost Abby trying to reach out to Ichabod.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really annoying to me that it just turned out to be some like Japanese The Ring demon.
No, it turned out to be one of the things from Ash vs. the Evil Dead. Literally, like the makeup, the eyes, everything was spot on.
I was just annoyed because I really like that idea of Ghost Abby trying to make a connection with them.
I think there's still going to be that. I don't think we're going to lose that. I think setting up this way kind of makes it more interesting because now that if she does try to reach out, they're going to be more skeptical.
That's
and
true.
It might create a little bit of suspense and drama as to whether they'll actually help this ghost that's reaching out to them that actually is Abby. So I mean, I think it's smart to lay the bait there and put a trap in there so that next time the bait's set, they're a little bit more skeptical. Because it would have been too easy. Oh, run in the mirror and then pull out Abby. All right, great. Back to where we were at the beginning of the season.
I did like that fake out. That Ichabod got it wrong and ended up being lured in by a demon. That rang very true to me because like there is all this magical evil stuff around, and like he's grasping at straws, trying to get her out, and like
he can't even make lasagna.
He got it wrong. He puts the frozen lasagna in a pan. It's gonna come out frozen in the middle and burnt on the outside.
Those
Ichabod.
are my favorite Ichabod moments when he's still trying to deal with contemporary times. And I was like, it says microwavable in large letters, Ichabod.
Somebody said, oh, sorry.
Come now.
Somebody in the chat said that maybe the ghost was Bloody Mary. Because you look in the mirror and say it 3 times, and like the mirror is the portal for the demon. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is based on a real Japanese type of demon. It did feel. There was like a moment where I flashed to Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Because like the Japanese demons, like that's what they look like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's like The Ring or any other American remake. I haven't ever seen the Japanese original, but it's like American remakes of the Japanese horror film.
I don't know where you guys are getting Japanese from. I didn't get that at all.
They said Japanese
the
vengeance
episode.
demon.
That's the only reason.
They literally named it in a Nayo.
Oh yeah, because that's why the symbol was a pagoda.
And then we got like probably my favorite moment in the episode where
they got pretty cool tattoos from the whole thing though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my favorite moment in the episode is when Sophie's
besties.
When Sophie's telling him about it, and she's like, "Yeah, the demon pretended to be Abby to lure you in there because they know it knew that's what you wanted. You got catfished."
Yes, I love that too. I love that. He's like, if that means this, blah 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 blah, then okay. But I do love that. I love those. I felt like in the last couple of episodes we had less of those like Ichabod fish out of water moments, and I just love the reminder that we have those.
Yeah.
And I liked even though I'm not the hugest Betsy Ross fan, I did like that there was a flashback, and it seems like they're trying to blend these flashbacks with what's happening in contemporary times.
Yeah, there was a lot of great Ichabod moments in this episode, like just like cute little things like him struggling to deal with Abby being gone, from having to deal with a new partner, having to search all this stuff on his own, and making lasagna. But you know what Ichabod could have done that would have been way easier than making lasagna?
Is there like somewhere he could call?
He could have just subscribed to Blue Apron. I just want to take a moment. Sorry for that horrifying transition, but I want to take a moment to you guys. Like, we bring you this show every week for free, and we're able to deliver it to you via YouTube, via iTunes, via SoundCloud, all these different places at no charge. And part of how we do that is with our fantastic sponsors. Blue Apron this week is one of our sponsors, and Blue Apron is a great place. It's this awesome service that will just send you prepackaged but not pre-cooked meals that you can make yourself. And you need to know how to cook to survive through life. You can't just put a frozen lasagna in a pan and expect to eat it.
I've had friends do this kind of service, and they've had a blast. They've just had a blast with it because it's fun to have the ingredients set out before you and you're making a meal together.
Well, like my whole thing is like I work so much that when I come home, I don't have time to go to the store. I don't have time to shop for all the various things. Like, oh, okay, let's say I'm gonna make a lasagna. Okay, where do I start? I go to the store. Okay, I get noodles, I get beef, I get sausage and cheese, and I have to go everywhere in the store.
You always have to buy too much.
Well,
you like have to go to the store in every part of the store to get one piece of it, and then you're like, okay, great, one meal done. Now what am I doing for the rest of the week? Or am I eating leftovers for the entire week? So, I mean,
it's always if you go to the store, it's out of proportion.
This is the beauty of Blue Apron. For less than $10 a meal, Blue Apron will deliver all of these fresh ingredients right to your door, and then you just follow easy step-by-step directions that can be done in 40 minutes or less for every meal. It's not... You don't have to deal with crazy trips to the grocery store. You don't have to deal with takeout and delivery fees and for every single meal you're going to make, all that stuff.
And that's a good price.
And no matter what your preferences are in terms of diet, allergies, all that, Blue Apron has you covered. Just a couple of the things that you can order from them that people have got in the past. Sloppy Joes and roasted steak fries with kale and carrot salad, shrimp and pineapple fried rice, chicken scallopini with roasted broccoli and whole wheat farfalle. I hope I'm pronouncing all these things right. Warm kale salad and delicata squash and pearled farro. I'm definitely not pronouncing all of that right. With pomegranate seeds and ricotta salata.
You know what I have to say to that? One word. America.
America. That's right. Cook with ingredients that you've never used before, like watermelon radishes, purple potatoes, which I've never even seen. Let alone eaten.
They're from Purgatory, I think.
And the best part is all the recipes are between 500 and 700 calories per portion. It's delicious, good for you, and it's really easy to use. So here's the best way to do it. You go on to blueapron.com/podcast. One more time, blueapron.com/podcast, and you can get your first 2 meals absolutely free, and it helps us out at AfterBuzz. It really does help. So thank you guys for listening to us talking about Blue Apron. And so one more time, blueapron.com/podcast, 2 meals for free. Now let's get back into
Ichabod should really do this.
Ichabod would be so good for Ichabod.
It's like if you jumped into a tree with a grenade, as the guidebook says you should, and you don't have time to go grocery shopping because you're stuck in hell or wherever you are, Blue Apron will still deliver food to you. You're good.
Yeah. All right.
Abby should have looked out ahead for Ichabod and had this ready.
And Ichabod would be amazed that you could just have food delivered to you like this.
Blue Apron, a better way to cook. All right. Back into Sleepy Hollow. All right. So in this, I want to take a second to talk about just everything that's going on with by the end of the episode with Sophie and Ichabod. Aww. How do you guys feel about them as a team?
I feel like there's an understanding there where they're getting to know each other, but I don't see Sophie and Ichabod necessarily as a team, but I see Sophie as joining our core team of people.
I see Sophie as like the Frank Irving.
How is she the Frank Irving? Because she's related to the
because she's just she's the police force that is skeptical yet forced to believe something that they didn't think was real. But she doesn't have a linchpin, like a family to hold her back. So I think it'd be interesting to see where her character goes. I honestly don't think she's gonna survive past this season, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think she brings an interesting dynamic in the sense that she seems to be less emotional and more no nonsense, and all of our core people are emotional, all of them, in one way or another.
Yeah.
You have Joe, who is in love with Jenny. Jenny has a lot of anger inside her. Abby seems to be like a very mothering presence where she wants to take care of everybody. Ichabod cares so much for Abby. You have one person that doesn't really have a stake in any of this, but is still willing to fight with them. So I find that interesting, where she doesn't kind of have an emotion in this, but she's still doing it because it's the right thing.
Well, and she's not sleeping with Reynolds, which is great, because then she could probably convince Reynolds instead of him just being really kind of a dick to her, like he was to Abby.
Why should anybody be sleeping with their boss?
No, but since Abby has that history, if she tried to explain anything, he'd just look at it as an excuse. But now that you have Sophie on their side, could probably make it a little bit less vitriolic if talking to Reynolds about all this stuff. He might be more likely to believe Sophie about supernatural stuff than he would Abby at this time.
I think the other problem with Abby though is like Abby's so invested in the supernatural, and she has such a high role as a witness that it's almost easier for her to say, okay, I'm going to leave behind my career because the end of the world is more important. But versus somebody like Agent Foster, who doesn't really understand that's happening. So she's probably more like, my job is more important, you know?
Well, Ichabod says something in this episode to her, which I think she'll call back to in future episodes. It's just a thought prediction. And he says, just because you're not aware of the things doesn't mean they can't still hurt you.
That's true.
So, I mean, if you were honestly an FBI agent for 10 years doing undercover stuff and then suddenly found out about this stuff, you would probably be like so far into it, like, holy crap, this is actually interesting. You'd be like, oh my God, this is awesome and terrifying, and awesome but terrifying.
And generally you join the FBI, as we're starting to see that she does, like to help people to save the world in like in smaller ways, but now like you could literally save the world.
Right.
And so I'm interested to see where she goes. There was one point where I'm sorry, I have to call it out, when she's acting like anchor to Ichabod. Did you notice, Jackie, that she's wearing heels?
No, I didn't.
I was like, why would you didn't prepare very well,
she's getting dragged into the mirror, she's wearing heels. No.
Well, they didn't even anchor it on anything either.
I actually now I'm remembering that scene, and yeah, it's just they do this though to all kinds of like women in police force positions. It's like they're trying to make like a more like casual uniform look quote unquote sexy, and it's like they don't do that to the guys, so why are you doing that to the women? And oh, by the way, it's not realistic to expect a woman to be running around doing police work in high heels.
Yeah.
And it's not reasonable to expect a woman to run around away from a T-Rex wearing high heels. Just saying, Jurassic World.
Okay, moving on from Sophie. Lots of other stuff to talk about. Jenny and Joe are off searching for a 19th century Russian map. That's Jenny's thought of how they can potentially find Abby and get her back.
Can I just ask about this? I mean, we don't have to recap everything Jenny and Joe did because everyone's watched the episode, I'm assuming. So everything just leads to she thinks Joe dies, and that kind of sets her off where she finally opens up to him, and she's like, I just don't want to be left behind by another person I love. And we're like, the L word, and then suddenly they're making out. Did this feel a little bit fast to you guys? Did this kind of feel right on pace if a month had gone by?
Both on pace, especially when there's trauma. You tend to dive a little deeper into relationships.
I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner because I thought they were both living together in that trailer. So it's like, you're both living together in that trailer. You both seem to have really good chemistry. Like, I'm surprised you didn't bone her.
Was it supposed to be that they hooked up? That was the first time they hooked up?
Yeah, like I think that's so. Like the first time they kissed.
Yeah,
didn't we see them kiss?
We saw them kiss earlier in another episode. Like one or two episodes before this one.
Yeah, so like...
Oh, I don't remember that.
They definitely have already kissed. It's just like she was pushing him away or keeping him at arm's distance. Like she didn't want to hurt him or get hurt.
When they found out she had that like stone inside her and she was getting sick, and then he was by her bedside.
Yeah, because it was the whole parallel. Like he's like, yeah, Ichabod, you gotta like go after who you love.
Mm-hmm.
Tina Terrell in the chat says, "I'm not all about Jenny and Joe. They're like siblings."
I don't see them like that.
They have like a foster father.
Yeah, like in a more literal sense.
Oh.
Like,
but that was Abby. Abby was really, what's his name? Corbin?
Yeah.
What was his first name?
Joe. Just Sheriff Corbin.
Sheriff Corbin. Yeah, Sheriff Corbin was more of a father to Abby, less of a father to Jenny, I think. But no, because then we found out. No, because then we found out that he was working with Jenny and doing all that supernatural stuff. So yeah, it is kind of siblingish.
Hey. If it worked in Wuthering Heights, it can work here.
They both shared like a dad in a way, but like, look, they're not actually brother and sister. They don't have that kind of vibe
just like
the way
Wuthering
that
Heights.
Abby and Joe have a very much brother-sister relationship.
August Corbin.
Yeah.
August yeah.
Corbin.
That man's first name is Sheriff.
His first name is Month. I'm Month Corbin. Nice to meet you.
But yeah, so I don't think it's weird that they're together. I like them together. I like this storyline. If only like the fact that it's like something we've seen a little bit consistently from them. I'm excited to see where those two characters go. I liked when they're like, what was it they said? I want to see the adventures of I want to know all about the adventures of Jenny Mills.
Yes.
I'm like, yeah, I want to watch that show.
I do. That is actually, I think
that show's called The Librarians. It's already on US.
I think though, if they did flashbacks, I would love to see flashbacks of Jenny's life as kind of like a rogue artifact hunter.
Yeah.
Would you like to see that over Ichabod and Betsy Ross?
If it means we're getting rid of Betsy Ross.
Yeah, so we got a little more out of Betsy Ross this week. Again,
I liked this.
And she was, this was fine. Like
it was a great comparison.
Appropriate.
It was outfit appropriate.
Yeah.
It was period appropriate outfit.
This was the first time the flashbacks really
made
sense with the story, where it's like, okay, you're dealing with somebody who's on your team, a partner who you're close with, that you have to let go. Like, you have to realize that without them, you still have to continue that mission.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we haven't had from this show before, is that they were so dependent on each other that without Abby, there was no fighting crime and fighting monsters, and without Ichabod, there was no fighting crime, fighting monsters. So now that it's Abby's gone, you have to realize you're still a witness, you still have these duties to perform, keep going forward. I think that was a good point to lead us on to where this season's going to go. And I do have to say, with all the demons going towards Sleepy Hollow, I don't think Frankenstein can resist the call of Pandora.
Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in a little later. Trust me, we will. But yeah, so...
I think it's a real life lesson too, though. It's like you're fighting a battle. You have to realize that if you're fighting a battle and someone gets captured, you have to decide, okay, do we sacrifice a whole bunch of people, other people, to get this person, or do we cut our losses and say that person is going to be sacrificed for the greater good? And that's a real world question that people struggle with today. It's the same question they're dealing with this guy Bergdahl that they're talking about. It's like you had all these people going out and searching for him, and it's like, is it worth the time and the resources to search for one person? Versus, like you were thinking, like she was saying, is it worth it for us to go and sacrifice ourselves to save this guy, or to just let him go and realize we have to continue with our mission?
Well, it's the same moral dilemma that government deals with every day with sending soldiers or even drone strikes, where it's like, yes, innocent people get involved, but if you let the people go free, how many other people are they going to murder and kill? So it's like, it's a moral question that, there's no right answer to it. Because very easily you could say that if Ichabod had saved Nathan Hale, then that could have turned the tide of the war in some way or another and could have made the war end sooner. But you can't weigh a miracle on a chance. Like, when the chances say 90%, there's a 90% chance that if we save him, all of our agents over here will be found and killed. Versus that 10% of, okay, we save him and everything turns out fine. It's like, who's going to take that bet? Like, who's really going to make the bet on 100 people's lives?
Yeah.
And I think they needed to realize that for Ichabod to stop dicking around for a month looking for Abby. It's like, okay, you tried to find her, you didn't find her, move on. If you can find her, you'll find her.
Yeah, and we got this this nice little historical drop from with Nathan Hale.
Those were actually listed as the last words.
Yeah. It's a very famous quote, and like that, for anyone who's not aware, Nathan Hale is a very real person who got caught as a spy trying to gather intelligence in New York.
21 years old.
Yeah, and he was hung up by the neck, and his last words: my only regret is that I have but one life to give for my country.
He was like the Pierce Brosnan of spies. He does 2 or 3 James Bond movies and then is out.
But you remember him.
He was on a stamp, people. He was on a stamp. Not good enough to be on a bill.
Yet Andrew Jackson is on a bill.
So then we go to Pandora and the Hidden One.
Yeah, Pandora and the Hidden One, a.k.a. Pandora's abusive boyfriend.
Yes!
AKA...
It bothers me so much that she's with this guy, because I'm like, clearly Pandora is super duper powerful and doesn't have to be with him. And all the time he's like, you suck and it's your fault. And if this goes wrong, I'm going to beat the crap out of you, which is not exactly what he said, but the vibe I'm getting.
This is like Chris Brown. This is like Rihanna getting back with Chris Brown. It's like you resurrect your dead boyfriend who was abusive because you're like, you know what? Things weren't that bad. Let's bring him back to life. Things were as bad as I remember.
Well, it's like she's doing everything beyond just disliking him, like in terms of like within the show, I don't like this choice, like that, because like they had built Pandora as this very interesting villain,
such a
for the
badass,
first half of the season,
and then just overshadowed immediately.
She was throwing monsters at people, and like she had like this box of evil. It was very interesting. It was very cool. There was a lot of different directions they could have taken it, where this was going to be a very interesting character.
And part of me is really annoyed that he's saying like, he's like, oh, this is all your fault and you suck at doing things. And I'm like, she doesn't though. She's really, really good at like conjuring demons and being a badass. So I don't understand.
Pandora, I made it really easy for you. All you had to do was find that eye and wander about for 5,000 years. And then find somebody who can put it together with this other thing to resurrect me and make sure the witnesses don't get involved. It was step by step. It was like a brew apron recipe.
And she like bathed him and took off his gross mummy clothes. I mean, come on.
I like the mummy Anuk-Sun-Yaman kind of comparison you can make between the characters, but I really feel that they kind of dumbed down her power because of him.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I think that, I mean, if you look at it from a writer's standpoint of what they're probably doing, they're just making her a little bit more hesitant to be on his side later on in the end game.
Or they're trying to bring in an after-school special.
Oh, God. No, but I just mean she's more likely to switch sides later on if he keeps this up. I think that's her redemption as a character.
But I'd rather she just be evil.
No, I don't mean she's going to be switching sides and that she's going to help Ichabod and Abby. I mean that she's going to be switching sides and that she's stealing all his power, killing him, and then becoming the big bad instead of him.
All right, I would love to see that, because right now I'm not.
Someone in our chat roll actually said they think that Pandora is going to end up being the main evil character.
Yeah,
that'd be great. That'd be great.
I think she should.
Yeah, I mean she's a series regular this year. They made her into a series regular,
and they save money on the voice modulation.
Oh my God. All right. Any other thoughts on this episode or like favorite moments, guys? Maybe Ichabod riding a motorcycle, being a badass at the beginning.
That was pretty cool. But I like the lasagna moment. I mean, that's one of my favorites. I also liked. I was so excited for Ghost Abby that I liked those ghost moments until I found out it was not Ghost
Are we
Abby.
to assume that the face in the tree was the ghost, or are we to assume that was something related to Abby?
Else.
I assumed that was somehow Abby, but let's talk about that when we get into predictions.
Yeah.
And before then, I want to talk some news and gossip.
Marissa might be watching the halftime game.
Yeah, let's do it. News and gossip here.
News and gossip.
Okay, so two things over the break. Jackie, you and I have to discuss this because I think the fans will riot if we don't. The showrunner, I don't have his name in front of me because
Clifton Campbell, maybe.
Yes, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Tweeted in an interview, not tweeted, said in an interview that he absolutely thinks that Ichabod is in love with Abby. And for those of you listening at home, Jackie is doing a little dance.
I'm sorry, I'm doing a little like dance thing. Yes.
Ichabod shippers we're just dancing in the streets.
It's clear though. I mean, I think it's clear that's the direction they're taking it. I mean,
yes. I mean, at this point, like, yes, that's where they're taking it. I still don't like it because it means that like what I loved about their relationship, the first especially in the first season and the second season of the show, was that it was these two people who like were polar opposites. It was a man and a woman, and that they could be best friends and partners and truly like go forward without having to like fall in love with each other, because it's a trap that so many shows fall in that don't just let two characters be friends and partners.
I think though.
I think we need a Bones crossover. That would really
we need another Bones crossover.
Compare those two
really.
characters.
Yeah. No. I think though that you also have to to include the variables that'll happen when you're casting. So when they casted this role, they probably didn't know that there was going to be such insane chemistry between the two main actors. You never know. It's like you can screen test someone and be like, oh, they get along. But there are some roles where people just keep coming back and back and back. And I mean, I know you guys hate me for mentioning Buffy, but Spike and Drusilla were supposed to be killed at the end of season 2. They lasted at least Spike lasted all through the end of the Buffy series.
Spike's still running around the comics.
I mean, Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad wasn't supposed to make it past first
Yes,
season.
but and that's the thing is, although I love their dynamic, I never felt like there was a romantic connection between the two of them, and doing it now feels forced to me.
I don't know. I mean, I think, like, I know you feel that way, but there's tons of fans out there that feel that they were super, super, like, had this great chemistry and flirtiness to begin with. And I think that's why they put, from articles, that's why they say they put Jenny and Corbin together, is because they could literally feel their chemistry. And there have been so many instances of that in television where you're like, these people just have such good chemistry together as actors, we have to put them together.
Yeah.
You know, and that happens all the time. And unfortunately, there are some actors where you put them together and you're like, meh, this is so much meh that we have to kind of like drive them apart.
Yeah. Well, you and I could go back and forth on this for a lot longer, but I want to talk about some rumors and possibilities that we could both get so excited about, because episode 11, airing on February 19th, is called Kindred Spirits.
Hey,
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's monster. You know what's funny? Yeah, Frankenstein's. You know what's funny though? While I was watching this episode, before I actually read that interview that said that Frankenstein's coming back, I was like, where is Frankenstein? And I'm like, oh, okay, he's coming back.
There's like a monster con, if it's like a Sleepy Con 2016, of course Frankenstein's coming.
I love this idea. I just love this idea because I'm hoping they do something super duper like cheesy with it, like they do on this show.
Yeah.
All the
So
time.
with all that, let's do some predictions. I think it's predictions time. Yeah.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I think we can still consider Joe Corbin a member of a demon sect.
Yeah, I think so. He's a werewolf.
If you
Wendigo.
A Wendigo.
They're very different.
You need to know when to go. Sorry, we're not getting on that pun train again. I think that with all of the demons in Sleepy Hollow, you could guess that because they're being called by Pandora, Hidden One might be able to command them, and Joe Corbin might be able to be commanded by the Hidden One.
Ooh, I would love to see that. I've wanted, since Joe came back, him to hit his Wendigo, to have the Wendigo come back in some form. I thought for a moment when they did the him getting shot fake out, I thought the Wendigo Joe was gonna like come around the corner. Like they shot him and he turned into the Wendigo instead of dying.
He still might have turned into the Wendigo to beat those two guys up. You never know. They didn't show it.
That's true.
I don't think that's what they did. Just how they did his clothes were intact.
And there was a shot, and that's why she thought that he had died, because she heard a shot.
True.
So.
But I still would love to see that return. For him to have to struggle with that, because that was one of the things that was so interesting about the character, and I think it would add an extra dynamic to the team that we sort of need right now. We need more problems for this team to run into, besides just having a character dead, not dead. So I think that we're gonna see we're gonna see Abby have to break through the tree. I think that face is going to be Abby in some way.
Yeah, I think so too. That we saw the face in the tree. I think it's somehow related to Abby. And I'm also wondering, because it's like we see her in this space that kind of looks like it could be the bottom of a tree, but I'm hoping that it's something bigger where she has to go through different, a labyrinth or something very interesting. I think I would be just annoyed if it was just oh, Abby comes out of the tree. You know, I want to see her maybe face different things.
Yeah.
It adds an extra dynamic.
Yeah, I would love to see parallels of Abby struggling without Crane and Crane struggling without Abby. I think that could be a very interesting thing for them to do now that we know where, more or less we know that she's in a place
Right.
I think we can assume it's
the
hell.
underworld. Yeah.
Yeah, the underworld or hell.
You could also say that that's not her and her body at all. You could say that that's only her soul that we're seeing.
Yeah.
And her soul is going through trials to absorb all the power that was sealed within her and the tree. Because it was in Jenny, taken out of Jenny and put into the rocks, and Hidden One wanted to basically download all the power into himself. Then she's sealed within this tree with all of that energy, and if basically it's just her soul is trapped in the tree while it absorbs all this energy, she's going through trials of trying not to fall apart as she's absorbing all this power. I mean, we could get Abby coming out of that tree being very powerful, and then having to use all that power to destroy Pandora or something in the end, and then reverting back to normal.
Yeah,
and we know Pandora is supposed to be looking for Abby or some such, because she has that conversation with the Hidden One where he tells her she basically has to go and get rid of Abby.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like there might be some sort of confrontation happening there. And I'm also interested in how that happens because of the level of special effects that would come with that, too. I love the special effects when they do them on this show, so it would be interesting to see what kind of world building they can do with Abby kind of like wandering around in this crazy netherworld.
I would love to see a prediction, hopeful prediction. I don't know if it's going to come true. Since the box broke and theoretically things like have sprung out, I want Headless back.
Yes, Headless
Bring
needs to come
Headless back to Sleepy Hollow.
This is Sleepy Hollow.
I shouldn't have to say that. I shouldn't have to say bring the Headless Horseman back to Sleepy Hollow. The Headless Horseman should just be Sleepy Hollow.
Yes. Maybe he'll
Writers.
Maybe
And
he'll be
Johnny
at the
Depp.
demon. He'll be at the demon convention.
Christopher
That's what
Walken.
I'm saying. Like, if all these demons are converging, if we're getting Frankenstein back, if we get like the Wendigo Joe back, if anything comes back, it should be Headless.
I'm also excited for the demon convention because I want it to be like the super nerdy colonial times restaurant where it's like everybody comes together and they
You
have
think it's
like name
actually going to
tags.
be a convention,
Yes.
like a gathering where they're chatting?
SDDC
Yes.
2016. San Diego Demon Con 2016.
They have a seminar like
Yep.
how to deal with the witnesses.
Yes. Yes. That's what I want.
Witness
That's what I
weak
want.
points 101.
Yes.
Get them apart. They're stronger together. Trust me.
Trigger warning, I'm going to talk about the witnesses here. So if this is a microaggression to any of you lesser demons, if you want to leave the room, or if you self-identify as a major demon, you can stay.
Then there are autographs, like maybe Headless is signing autographs at one of the booths or something.
please, no questions for Headless about August Corbin. It's a touchy subject. They met up in hell. It got real awkward.
If you're taking pictures with the succubus, you can't touch the succubus. All right.
I think that's going to do
guys,
it.
go to iTunes, rate and review, comment.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for those of you who did take the time to rate and review on iTunes. I think we got over the break. I think we got one review.
I love this comment that says Episode 9, A New and Tentative Hope. I like that. That's clever.
Yeah, and as we do, we give you a shout out. It's like that was Lana Vase, frequent listener here at AfterBuzz. Here's hoping the second half of the season doesn't disappoint as badly as second season does. Even if it does disappoint, I'm sure this panel won't.
Oh,
Thank you very much, Lana Vase. And that's gonna do it for us here at Sleepy Hollow After Show. Stephen Lemieux. Until next week, where can everyone keep up with you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, STPHENLEMIUX, as well as doing the Lucifer After Show, which is another Fox show that deals with supernatural demon thingies and cases and cops. Mondays at 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then Better Call Saul is coming back Tuesday.
Yeah, not this Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
After we've seen Deadpool.
I'm not sure why those two correlate, but
I don't know, because I'm excited about Deadpool.
Jacuqe Borowski.
You can find me 123jackieb.com on my website, and that's where all my Twitter, Instagram, blog, etc.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram and now on YouTube as well at that Zach Wilson, where I'm doing some TV questions and answers and stuff like that. And you can also find me here at AfterBuzz on the Grimm After Show, Agent Carter, Muppets, Better Call Saul next week with Stephen Lemieux. So many places. Guys, I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz
See
you
you
later.
Sleepyheads.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.